So again, just to be clear, I am going to go over this assignment with you. So describe to you like what it is and what you're going to be doing, where you'll find it and all that. And then I will post it for you guys to be able to have access to it. So you won't have access to it yet because I want you guys to listen and follow along first before you start clicking on things and trying to figure it out. Here under week 7 is where it's going to be posted. It'll be right at the top. It's going to be called In-Class Padlet Time Travel. And that will be the link that you end up clicking on. Again, I have not posted it yet. I will post it after I'm done going over it. But after you come here, you will click on this link and then make sure you do the second step that says you need to make sure you log in with your Google account so that I can actually see who's doing the work and I can give you the points, because what we're doing right now is worth points for your grade. So you want to make sure you get those participation points. So when you click on this link, it's super important that you log in. So for example, I'm going to show you in my other account here. Once I click on the link, it's going to take me to a page that looks like this. Okay. Now, once I'm here, I have to actually log in. If I just go ahead and double click and start typing, you're going to see it says anonymous. You don't want it to say anonymous, because if it says anonymous, I don't know who you are and I can't give you your points. And anybody who shows up anonymous, I'm going to delete them. So what you have to make sure you do is come to here where it says log in. So it goes sign up, and then log in is right next to sign up, and you will log in with your Google account. Okay, so you'll select your school Google account when it gives you the option to do that. And then that is going to take you to a page probably that looks like this. Usually it takes you to this home page, which is obviously not the page that you want to be on. In order to access the Padlet, if you go back now to Google Classroom and you click on this link, now when you click on the link, it will open up and you'll actually be logged in. Okay, and you'll know that because you'll see your little icon has changed up here and it doesn't say log in anymore in the upper right-hand corner. So to be clear, you have to make sure you don't skip that step. Click on the link, then click log in, and make sure you log in with your Google account, and then come back and click on the link here in Google Classroom one more time, and it will take you in. And then once you are here, now when you double click, you see your name will come up at the top in order for you to do your post. And when you do your post, you are going to put time travel. Make sure you spell it correctly, though. Don't be like me. Time travel as the title, and then you'll click underneath that in this box to start typing your answer. Okay, that's where your answer will be typed to the questions. And the questions are posted right up here underneath the title. So right underneath where it says time travel period 2 p.m., here are the questions. So this is what you're going to be reflecting on. If you could travel in time to any time or place, when and where would you go? What would you do when you got there, while you were there? And then, do you think the idea of time travel is something that's exciting, or do you think it's something that's dangerous? Like, is it good? Is it bad? Why do you feel that way? So there's 3 questions that you guys are going to be responding to. So again, question number 1 is, if you could go any place in time, like if you could time travel, where would you go? So what time period would you go? The past? Would you go to the future? If you went to the past, like what time period would you go to? If you went to the future, what time period would you go to? So that's question number 1. The second question is, what would you do there? So if I traveled to the past, if I'm like, oh, I would travel to 1980, well, what would you do when you were there? And then the last and final question, the third question you have to respond to, is just, what are your feelings on the idea of time travel in general? So like, do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Would it be fun? Would it be dangerous? And why? Don't forget the why do you feel that way? So you're going to make sure that you answer all 3 of those questions. Okay. So again, just to clarify, and thank you, Benjamin, for answering that question. I appreciate that. When I post this, because I have not posted it yet, so that's why you guys don't have access to it, which is what I said when I first started. Okay. Once I hit post on this, then you will see it. It will show up here in Google Classroom and you will have access. And at that time, you will come and you will click on this link. Once you have clicked on the link, you will make sure you log in with your Google account. After you have logged in with your Google account and it takes you to the page that looks like this, then you will go back to Google Classroom, click on the link one more time, and then it will take you to this page where you can double click and you can start your answer. Okay. Any questions? anything I can clarify before I post it, because now I will actually go ahead and go back and post it for you guys. But I want to make sure you guys don't have any questions first. That's why I hadn't posted it yet. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go back then, and I'm going to now open this up to actually post it for you guys. So I'm going to hit assign. So once this assigns, it will show up in Google Classroom for you. So it's currently assigning right now. It is there. So now if you go to Google Classroom, you refresh, it will be there, and you could go ahead and you can click on the link, and it will take you to it'll take you to the Padlet. And again, once you get to the Padlet, please make sure that you sign in with your Google account. Because remember, if you're not signed in with your Google account, I won't be able to give you your grade, and I'm going to just delete your post. So go ahead and start going there now. It is in Google Classroom, so you should be able to access it and get in now. So go ahead and go to Google Classroom, click on that link, log in with your Google account. And then remember, you will have to go back and click on the link a second time once you're logged in with your Google account in order to get where I am right here. And you'll know you're in the right place because you'll see my post there. I'll delete that one eventually, but I'm leaving it there just so you guys know where to go. And you know you're in the right place.
It says something of going pro and then basic.
Yeah, click basic. You don't want to, you don't need to pay money. You just go ahead and do basic. That's fine. Because you guys are not really creating Padlets. That's only if you're creating them. You're just using the ones that I have created. So basic is fine. So if I hit update now, we should see some people on there. Perfect. So I see Robert has made it. Melissa has made it. And you guys are off to the right start. So yeah, time travel is the title. And then underneath that is where you put your answer. And if at any point in time, guys, like you accidentally click out of the box and you need to get back in and edit, if you hover over the box, there's a little pencil. If you click on that pencil, it'll allow you to go back in and type. See, I see David has got there. Benjamin has got there. I'm going to update it because it looks like a few other. Luis is there. And remember, the questions you are responding to are right at the top. So they're right here underneath the title. If you could travel in time to any time or place, where and when would you go? What would you do when you got there? And do you think the idea of time travel is exciting or dangerous, and why? So if you forget the questions, just come up to the top and read them. So again, make sure once you're there. I see Yvette has made it there too. Okay, Brody, what's happening? You double click, Benji, double click on it and a box will open up. Did you go to Google Classroom, Brody, and click on the link? The link is in Google Classroom. Okay, and where did the link take you? To this page right here? Okay, and then did you go in the upper right-hand corner? You should see where it says log in. Did you click log in? Okay, that's probably the step that you're missing. So try that. Log in with your Google account. Hey guys, somebody's in there anonymously. 2 people. That means you didn't log in with your Google account. You need to make sure you go fix that because I'm going to delete those right now. You can't be in anonymously. You have to make sure you log in with your Google account. So if you don't see your name above your post, that means you didn't log in properly. So I'm deleting the anonymous posts and you will have to go back in again. You have to be logged in with your Google account, guys. All right, so let's see. I see Robert, Manissa, David, Benjamin, Danielle, Yvette, Chris, Yvonne, Luis. I see those people have made it in so far. Try again, Brody. I'm not really sure why it would be saying that. Try it again and see what happens. Benjamin or Benji, were you logged in with your Google account? Because yours may have been one of the ones I deleted because it was anonymous. So I would try again. Because I deleted 3 that were anonymous. So to log in with your Google login, in the upper right-hand corner, there should be a button that says log in. Do you see that button? There you go, Benji. It looks like you're in there now. Guys, somebody else just went in anonymously. So in the upper right-hand corner, Logan, there's a button that says log in. If you click that, it will give you the option to choose Google. You double click, Danielle. It's automatically posted once you start typing. And if you want to edit your answer, for example, like Danielle, if you wanted to edit your answer, you would, if you hover over your answer, there's a little pencil. And if you click on that pencil, it'll allow you to edit your answer. Okay, so now, Brody, go back to Google Classroom and click on the link one more time, and it should actually take you in because it sounds like you're logged in now. And then once you get back to this, it takes you back to the Padlet. You should be able to double click in order to type your response. All right, guys. And again, please make sure you are responding to all 3 parts of that question. Respond to all 3. Hey, there you are. I see you in there, Brody. All 3 parts of the question. So make sure you answer where and when would you go is the first question. What would you do when you were there is the second question. And then what do you think about the idea of time travel? Like, is it good? Is it bad? Is it safe? Is it dangerous? And why is the third question. So make sure you respond to all 3 of those. You can if you want to, Benjamin. It's probably helpful, but you don't have to. That's totally your decision. But if you would like to number them, you can, but you don't have to. And then if you guys finish your post, then you can go ahead and read other people's posts and start liking them or commenting on them. Again, make sure you keep your comments appropriate, but you can go ahead and start reading other people's posts when you finish your own. So it looks like I think we got the majority of people in now. And I will be interested to see what you guys put in comparison to what your classmates chose in the other groups, like the AM group, or in my period 1 yesterday. There's been some things that were similar. There's been some answers that were different. So I'm already seeing some interesting things.
Can you say the questions again?
The questions, guys, are at the top. So if you come up to the top, right underneath where it says time travel period 2 p.m., the questions are typed right there. So that way you guys can just read them. But it's if you could travel in time to any time or any place, where would you go? And then the second question is, what would you do when you were there? And then the last one is, do you think the idea of time travel is exciting or dangerous, and why do you feel that way? And again, don't forget the why. And I have a question for you, David, on yours. Maybe you can go edit this and clarify for me. But I noticed you mentioned Texas, but you didn't say when. You didn't say like past or present or... So just if you could add that in there, just to clarify that. I think it's interesting right now from where I'm at, and I'm still reading them, but it looks like a lot of us are leaning toward past so far, which is kind of like my period 1 a.m. yesterday was like that too. Almost everybody chose the past. Whereas my period 1 p.m., almost everybody chose the future. So it's very interesting to kind of see what people choose, what people lean toward. Ooh, some very interesting things you guys are putting down here. And again, make sure you answer all the questions. I see some of you are answering the first question and then that's it. You're forgetting, especially a lot of people are leaving off that last question, which is make sure you also indicate what are your feelings on time travel? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Is it safe? Is it dangerous? Why do you feel that way? So if you need to go back in and edit your answer, you can go back in and edit your answer. Remember, if you just hover over yours, so I'll use like Yvette's as an example. So if I'm Yvette, if I hover over my post and I just click on this little pencil, it will allow me to edit my post if I need to add anything. Because some of you are leaving off that last question. And in order to make sure that you guys get all the points, you have to have all parts of the questions answered. Ooh, I have a couple people who want to go to the future. I see some great answers, guys, but I still see a lot of you who's totally skipped that second or that last question. Please go back and look at your answer. If you didn't answer the part that asked you what your feelings are on time travel, whether you think it's safe or not, whether you think it's dangerous and why, you are not going to get all the points. So please go back and edit your answer so that you have all that information. I see at least half of the people who didn't answer that question. And guys, again, as I said, you are welcome to comment on each other's as long as you keep your comments appropriate and polite, okay? And remember, to do your own post, you need to double click on the screen. So if you come to a blank place on the screen and double click like this, then it will update it so that you can do, now if I go down here, I'll see where I can do my post. So make sure you're doing your own post, not just commenting on other people's posts in order to get your points. Try refreshing it, Yvette, because I see your post. It may just be that you need to update it. Like mine keeps asking me to update it because people keep posting. It says Padlet is updated elsewhere. And so I have to update it in order to see the people's posts. Oh, good. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a chance to wrap up in case you are still typing your answer. And then here is your extra credit opportunity. for those of you who are looking for some extra credit points, in a little bit, we are going to share these. If you are willing to volunteer and share yours verbally, then that will be worth extra credit points to you. Okay, so please keep that in mind for those of you who are looking for some grades, some help for your grades. Chris, I will write you down. So Chris will go ahead and go first when we do that. We're not going to do that yet, but I'm going to write him down. And then I've got, let's see. Ooh, it jumped. Hold on. Let me see who else I have here. I got to scroll back. All right, so I see Danielle, Abby, Logan, Anthony. So hold on, let me add you guys down here. So Danielle, Logan, Abby, Anthony. Robert, I don't know if that's a volunteer or if you're hungry. Okay, so then Robert, Benji. Yeah, or you're rapping. Robert, Benji. All right, so I've got Chris, Danielle, Abigail, Logan, Anthony, Robert, and Benji, who have volunteered so far. So momentarily, we will go ahead and start sharing pretty soon. I'm just gonna give another minute for people to wrap up in case they're still typing their answers. And then we will allow people to go ahead and share for extra credit, those of you who are choosing that opportunity. And we'll go in that order, the order that you guys are in the chat. So we'll give like one more minute in case anybody's still typing their answer. Because I do see a few people, I think, who are wrapping that up. And again, guys, please double check your answer and make sure that you have all the parts, because if you share and you're missing something, I'm going to tell you at that time that you're missing it to give you a chance to try and fix it. Because again, if you're missing any part of it when I go to grade it, you're not going to get the full points. So it's super important that you make sure that you have everything filled out properly. Yes, Benjamin, I will add you as well. All righty. So if you are still typing, you can go ahead and wrap up what you're typing as we get to the sharing part. But I'm going to go ahead and allow people to start sharing. So again, we'll start with Chris because he volunteered first. So Chris, go ahead and share what you had to say. Did we lose you? Chris, are you there? Okay, we will come back to Chris then. And we'll go on to Danielle for now. And I'll check back in with Chris later. So Danielle, go ahead.
So do I just talk here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. You just tell us what you wrote.
Okay. So if I could travel anywhere at any time, I would go to Paris in 2021 because of the situation we're in. And I would go to Paris because I've never been to Paris, and I think it would be a nice experience. But I also think that time travel would be dangerous because if you prevent something from happening, it could prevent other things.
Yeah, and first of all, I thought it was super interesting that like you chose to like travel into the future for your birthday. I think that's a neat idea, and see like what's going on like a year from now. So nobody has mentioned anything like that, so I thought that was pretty unique. And then you make a valid point that I think other people I've seen also brought up in their posts, and I'm sure we'll share as well, which is the idea of the possibilities of time travel and what some of those dangers might be. Like in terms of if we were to travel in time, how that could impact what's happening in the world. So we'll kind of add to that. I'll let people add to that as they share as well. But I think that's a valid point that you made. So thank you, Danielle, for sharing. All right. Abigail, you are up next.
Okay. I would time travel to the 90s because it was way better than how it is today, and I would meet Tupac. I think it would be safe because you didn't have to worry about getting kidnapped or anything like that.
So I think that's interesting. You're the second person that's mentioned traveling to the 90s. Somebody yesterday in my period 1 class said they would travel back to the 90s and go to like some NWA concerts and go to Tupac concerts and just have the opportunity to like meet those artists, especially like Tupac before he met his untimely demise. Just such a tragic story, what happened to him. And he was an amazing artist. So I think that's a kind of cool thing to think about doing. And that's I'm surprised that's 2 people who have chosen that now. So very cool. And yeah, like thinking about, you know, how that time period may be different compared to what our time period is like now. I think that you brought out some good points there as well. So that's cool. Thank you, Abby, for sharing. I like that. All right. After Abby, we have Logan. Logan, you're up next.
For mine, I would like to go back to when the dinosaurs were alive.
Okay.
Because I wanted to see them.
Because you want to see them. And I think it's interesting that you brought up the dinosaurs because that's part of what's going to come up in the story you guys are going to read. There's going to be some time traveling that involves that. So you're one of the first people I've seen that's actually mentioned that. Now, my other question too, because this is the part you're missing, is what are your thoughts on time travel in general? Like, how do you feel about it? Do you think it's a good thing, a bad thing?
It depends on the way that you look at it.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
And why? Why do you say that?
Because if you look at it in a different I can't say a word, but if you look at it in a different way, you could either get stuck or you could just not worry about it and then let everything happen.
So it kind of depends, you're saying, on the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point. Absolutely. So I'd make sure you go in and edit that and add that to your response.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's an absolutely fair point. And I think a lot of people would probably agree with you that there's a lot of variables that come into play that would determine whether it would be safe or whether it would be dangerous. So absolutely, I agree. That is a fair point. Thank you, Logan, for sharing that. All right. Chris, are you back with us now?
Yeah, it's hard to the rest of them.
Okay. Do you want to share now?
Sure.
All right. So go for it.
For my time travel, I said I would travel to 1950s back in the slave time, and to try to prevent racism. I think that time travel is like a little bit dangerous because you might not come back to the present, so you have to be careful about so yeah, like you have to be careful because you might stay in the past.
In the past.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that ties in nicely to kind of the point that Logan was making about one of the things that you would have to be very careful of. Absolutely, is you wouldn't want to get stuck someplace in the past or the present, depending on where you traveled, and that would be a risk that you would be taking. So you'd have to be careful about that. And I also you're one of the first people I've seen, and I'm surprised that mentioned going back in time to try and do something about stopping slavery and preventing racism. And I would have thought actually more people would have thought of that because of everything that's been going on in our country right now and with the climate and everything.
And plus I might be stuck in there because of my color.
Right. And that would be a dangerous time period to be in, right? So that would be another reason why it would be dangerous. But I think that's really that's a super noble thing for you to think of doing. And like I said, I'm surprised that you're the first person that thought of that. So that was a cool idea, Chris. And thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right. So now that we caught up with Chris there, Robert, you are up.
I said I would travel to Christmas of 2017 when Fortnite was in its prime. If this was real, you can time travel. I would do all the things I always wanted to do that I could not. I think time traveling is exciting because you can relive all the most important things and all of your favorite memories.
Yeah, and that's a super like unique, like I like that perspective of thinking about especially like you're thinking of the past, right? Specifically, you mentioned 2017. Like that's the thing about if you travel to the past, you could have the opportunity, like you said, to pick times that were your favorite times and revisit those. And what a nice opportunity that might be. To be able to do that. So I would agree that is an exciting perspective. So one of your examples obviously is 2017 with Fortnite. So that was something obviously that was an important memory to you, but there could also be other important memories that you could go back and visit. So yeah, I think that's a very good point, Robert. Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's see who we have next. Benji.
If I were to time travel, I would travel to 2014 because things were great at that time. I didn't have school and I had nothing to stress about. I'd just relax on my bed. It may be dangerous because people may go out finding me.
Ooh, that's interesting. What you added there at the end. So you're another person who would choose to travel back in time and to a more carefree time of your life that didn't have as many responsibilities, which I think other people could probably relate to. But I think it's interesting that your take on that last part of that question about it being dangerous is like that idea that people might try and go out and find you. I haven't seen anybody else bring up anything like that. So I think you guys are coming up with some kind of different and unique ideas that your other classmates hadn't thought of yet. So that's really cool. Awesome, Benji. Thank you for sharing. Let's see. I believe, I want to say, I think our last person is Benjamin then. So Benjamin.
Okay. I will travel back to my parents' childhood and see what they went through as a child. If I was there, I would try to become a friend to them. Time traveling is dangerous and exciting. If your machine breaks down, then if your machine breaks down, you are stuck in that world or time. And if it's exciting, your machine doesn't break down, you could just travel to different places and stuff.
So that's an interesting point about like, whatever you're using for time travel, if, that thing were to break, you'd be stuck, which is, I know, something that other people had mentioned was that idea of being stuck in whatever time period you ended up in. And then, you're forced to live out your life there. So that's an interesting prospect. And I think it's cool that like your thought was to go like see what your parents' childhood was like and to like, see how they grew up. And see how it was different than what you have seen and had access to, in your lifetime. So that's neat. And Danielle, I see that you commented about like that you would go back to your 8th birthday because you got $300. So that's, again, that kind of ties into what Robert said about going back to those favorite memories or those moments that you could relive because they were those good moments as opposed to ones that maybe were not so good. Yeah, that's cool. All right. Was there anybody else that I missed because I was looking back in the chat, did I miss anybody else who had wanted to volunteer for extra credit? Because I want to make sure I got everybody and then I didn't accidentally skip somebody. So last call on, were there any other volunteers for extra credit? All right. I just wanted to make sure. So thank you for the people who shared verbally, and you guys also got a chance to kind of hopefully go through and read some of each other's responses as well and kind of comment on each other's responses too, just to kind of see people's different perspectives. But it's been very unique, like to kind of look and see what you guys said, what your other classmates said in different groups, what our perspective is on this idea, like where we would go, what we would do. And again, part of the reason I wanted you guys to think about it is because this is what the story is going to be about. And I know some of you already kind of started looking at that story. So you kind of have an idea how this ties in. But I wanted you guys to think about it from your perspectives. And I wanted you to think about like the kind of things you thought, you know, would be good or bad or dangerous or not, because that's kind of what the conflict of the story you're going to read revolves around, is some of those issues that you guys have already brought up about time travel and, you know, how time travel could affect things that happen in the world or in the present or in the future. So that's kind of why I wanted to do this activity, to kind of prepare you for that as you read that story, and you can kind of think back to this and how your idea is connected to what you read in the story. Danielle, in answer to your question, eventually this will get added into Aries. When I do grading of on time work this week, I will put the points for this particular assignment in. But again, I probably won't start grading the work that's due like today for another couple days, because I usually wait until after the 24-hour grace period has passed. And then I start putting in the grades, because then after that, everything that comes in is late work and people have to email me about that. But this will eventually go into Aries, this assignment. So this is worth points, guys. So that's why I said, please make sure that one, if you didn't get to do your response on here, that you do, so that you can get those points. And two, that your response meets all the requirements, that you've answered all 3 parts of the questions that were there, so that you can make sure you're going to get the full points, because this should be easy points. And again, thank you to those of you who shared and who took advantage of that extra credit. I will add the extra credit into your grade for this assignment. And then just an FYI to those of you who were asking about what you could do to help your grades. If you chose not to do the extra credit today, that was you saying no to an opportunity to help your grade. So I just want to be clear on that. I told you guys that one of the most important things is if you want to help your grade, when there's an extra credit opportunity, take it. Don't pass it up, because then when you ask me later what you can do to help your grade, I'm going to say you had the chance and you didn't take it. And the same thing when your parents email me and say, what can my child do to help their grade? I'm going to say, well, they had this extra credit opportunity and they didn't take it. So FYI to some of you who were asking about that today, you had a chance, and some of you chose to pass that chance up. So this extra credit opportunity is gone at this point. But remember, the other extra credit opportunity you have on your own time is to do some extra iReady lessons, which I know some of you have done. But again, if you're wanting to help your grade, you can't really say no to extra credit. Anytime I say extra credit, you have to say, yes, I would like that, please. So thank you for those of you who did take that opportunity to get those extra credit points. That being said, are there any questions, anything else I can clarify about this before we talk about your homework? Okay, so Yvonne says no. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that she's speaking for everybody, unless people put something else into the chat. All right, so coming back to Google Classroom, guys, as we talked about before, you only have 2 assignments this week for your asynchronous, and it's these 2 things right here, because we just did this right here. We just did that Padlet. So the only things you have for homework are those iReady reading lessons, so making sure that you've done at least 3 lessons for this week and passed them. And then reading the story, which ties into the activity that we just did. So the link for that is right here. The story is called The Sound of Thunder. So if you come here and you click on this link, it will take you to Actively Learn, where you are going to read the story and answer the questions as you read the story. And remember, with Actively Learn, you have to answer the questions as you go, or you won't see the whole story. You answer them as you go along. But those are the only 2 things that you have for your homework this week. So that being said, people who are asking about when you were going to have time to work on homework or work on missing work, makeup work, anything that you have that's due, this will be your opportunity to do that. So in a moment, I'm going to dismiss you guys, and you have a few options about what you can do with your time, but they all involve this class. Okay. Option number 1 is if you're one of the people who still needs to finish like some of the work from last week. So for example, like if you have any of this stuff that you haven't turned in yet, like your vocabulary, or you haven't, especially this story. So there are 7 people who have turned in this story, 9 of you who have not. If you are one of those 9 people, I would make that your priority right now, since you know that that's worth big points towards your grade. And then don't forget to make sure you are following all of these directions so that your story has at least 5 paragraphs. that each of those paragraphs have at least 5 sentences, that you are numbering those sentences, okay? That would be priority number 1. If you have done that, if you're caught up on all your work from last week, then I would go ahead and work on the work that you have for this week. So your iReady or reading the story, Sound of Thunder. But if you need to get caught up, you have the option of using this time to get caught up. If you're already caught up, then you have the option of using this time to get done with your current homework. So you can get a jump start on that and have less to do. So those are the options of what you have to do with your time, but you need to be working on stuff for this class, regardless of which option you choose. That's awesome, Brody. So maybe you can get that iReady lesson done and you'll have it done and out of the way. And then you'll have your iReady done. So it's up to you guys. If you want to do iReady, that's cool. If you want to, like I said, if you have other assignments that you need to work on for my class, you can work on those, but it's totally your choice as long as you're working on something for this class. Okay? Questions? Anything I can clarify about what you're doing with your time before I dismiss you? Alrighty. So just like before, I am going to dismiss you. So I will stop screen sharing. And I will stop recording since you're going to be working independently for now. And again, your job is to choose what it is that you would like to work on during this time that is for this class. So you just need to make sure you're